Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Randomness.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop. Today you will find a quick review of the Fall of Ulduar mini-set. The craziest and definitely most influential mini-set that has ever been presented.
We tested each card using our utility ratio benchmark to determine the potential power.
Our method is based on determining the nominal value of the card's components according to classic Hearthstone standards, and comparing these results with the actual mana cost.
The guy's algorithm is gradually evolving, losing subjective factors and allowing more accurate calculations. The benchmark is still not perfect, as some nuances deserve more detailed study. But right now, utility ratio is an excellent tool for monitoring the power creep level. In addition, this method clearly demonstrates the hidden balance of cards.
We are delighted with the test results. It looks like the new mini set is an example of almost perfect balance and very interesting game design. The vast majority of cards received approximately the same number of points. The development team did a great job. I'm amazed at how they carefully combine different effects and mechanics. Despite this, some of the cards have significantly more advantages than others.
Let's get into the details of our approach as we go. Saronite Shambler has stats that according to classic standards, are equivalent to a 2-mana creature. Plus, if the condition is met, the effect of the Heroic Strike spell for 2 mana will be activated. According to our algorithm, cards that combine several options have an additional nominal value for the summation of each component. Thus, by investing 2 mana crystals, your potential nominal maximum value will be equal to 5 mana. But in some cases you will not be able to activate the effect. If you fail, you will only receive minimal value. We assume that the probability of failure is only 10%, while the probability of obtaining maximum value is 70%. Please note that the condition does not allow you to play the card at any time. This affects the probability of obtaining maximum value. The most important indicator is utility ratio. This is the ratio between the average nominal value to the actual mana cost. In other words, this indicator shows how many times more nominal benefits you will receive for the mana crystals you invested.
Mindbender requires preparation and has variable value. This means that in each match you will get a different benefit. At worst, you will deal only 1 damage. At best, we assume that you can deal 6 damage. The probability of both success and failure is 20%. In all other cases, you will most likely get a conditionally average value. So, your utility ratio is 1.8 with a plus. Plus means that your maximum value may go beyond our calculations. The current power creep level for most modern cards is around 2. From this point of view, this card is fully in line with the current state of affairs in most cards in this set. But despite this, not all cards with this indicator are useful.
Sigil of Time is an extremely promising draw. The effect of taking 3 cards from the deck is equivalent to 5 mana crystals. The main disadvantage is the activation of the effect. Having invested 3 mana, there is a possibility that you will not receive any benefit at all, as you will be destroyed by your opponent, but the probability of this, we estimated at 10%. The difficulty level for obtaining maximum value is easy. Despite the fact that the utility ratio is significantly less than 2, this does not mean that the card is useless. Traditionally, draws prove to be extremely useful, even if their power level is lower than that of other cards.
Now understanding all the nuances of our algorithm, let's talk about the worst cards. The reference for Encroaching Insanity is Shadowbomber. The spell will deal more damage with each cast. The first copy will deal only 3 damage, the second 7 damage. The likelihood that you will be able to use 2 copies before turn 10 is less than 25%. On its own, this is a terrible card, but at the same time it has crazy combo potential, which our algorithm does not take into account.
Forbidden Fruit is another controversial card that seems to have come to us from the past. Most likely, Disciple of Eonar will not allow you to benefit twice, otherwise we will end up with a broken combination. Let's say you spent 8 mana, which means you get 8 attack or 16 armor. Surprisingly, the nominal value of these 2 cards is almost the same. By the way, the actual cost of Inner Demon does not correspond to the effect.
Assembly Line can be useful in certain strategies, but the spell itself doesn't have as much value as 1 mana cards. As a rule, the utility ratio of these cards is 3.
Curse of Flesh is a very strange card, as is Millhouse Manastorm. The problem is that this new spell can become a win condition for your opponent, especially if the card is played in the early game. For example, an opponent can sacrifice 15 life points, but get several powerful threats on the board in return. In the late game, your opponent may be forced to forego using creatures to save hit points. In this case, you won't get any tangible benefit, but you will definitely make your opponent's turn less effective. A very interesting but extremely unpredictable tool.
The results of Sanitize deserve a separate explanation. The card is reminiscent of Reckless Flurry but without the negative consequences. The potential to deal massive damage based on armor is attractive, but in the best-case scenario, this effect will be equivalent to casting Twisting Nether. The Forge keyword, in some scenarios, increases the conditional cost of the spell to 6, which directly affects the final result. Despite this, in certain strategies, the card is stronger than the Brawl spell.
To activate Tiny World Breaker's effect, you must have another mech under your control. The ability to deal damage not only to creatures, but also to an opponent, has an additional nominal benefit, but according to classic standards, this fact does not affect the cost of the card. Shockhopper is a great example of a perfectly balanced 1-mana card. You get a random card, but from a specific pool, which gives the card a little more nominal benefits.
Twisted Frostwing is another variable value card. This means you can potentially get significantly more benefits under certain circumstances. Without preparation, you will deal 3 damage and summon a creature with 3/3 stats, which in total will be equivalent to almost 6 nominal mana crystals. If the attack increases by another 2 points, you will get an advantage of 10 mana, but it will be difficult to implement this scenario. Alarmed Security Bot is able to reveal its potential as a component of big strategy. The most important thing is the effect of reducing the cost down to 5 mana. The nominal benefit will depend on the reduced value of the card drawn. The card itself does not have many advantages, but at the same time it significantly increases the utility ratio of the drawn card.
Celestial Shot is an extremely interesting spell that gives a buff to your next spell, and is equivalent to Arcane Shot. But note that you can get significantly more than the nominal benefit when combined with an AoE spell. In this combination, the buff will be almost equivalent to using Consecration.
Aerosoilizer is a summoner with a partially delayed activation. Since the activation of the Death Rattle does not depend on you, the card has slightly fewer points for summoning effects. Despite this, the card has a little more utility compared to previous cards. This is a potentially useful tool for token decks.
Tainted Remnant activates Avenging Wrath. Interesting fact, if you could choose targets for each point of damage, the nominal value of the effect would be twice as high.
The new Cho'gall activates anomalies that slightly modify the playing conditions for both players. This effect has no nominal value, but as a creature in combination with Taunt and Lifesteal keywords, the card gains quite a lot of benefits. The card is perfectly balanced and has a chance to be useful in some control archetypes.
Meddlesome Servant, when the condition is met, activates the Arcane Intellect effect. The card has a chance to be useful for all mage archetypes. Prison Breaker has a very strong AoE effect, which by classic standards corresponds to 7 mana, due to the additional option of causing damage to the opponent. In a specific deck, activating the effect will be quite simple.
Muscle Otron is a variable value buffer. Your actual benefit will depend on the number of buffed and played creatures. If only 2 minions receive the buff, then the effect will have a value of 2 mana. If you spend 2 additional mana crystals and apply the buff to 4 creatures, your benefit will increase to 8 mana and even more. The card is potentially stronger than the previous ones.
General Vezax is capable of endless resurrection, of course, if you have enough armor. It is unlikely that you will not be able to resurrect a creature at least once. To determine the maximum value, we assumed 3 resurrections. For this you would need to lose 8 armor. But this is not the limit for the card.
Keeper's Strength is a very powerful AoE spell. In combination with the hero power, you are guaranteed to apply an effect equivalent to Excavated Evil, and also receive a buff. In the best case, you will destroy all other creatures.
Bestial Madness buffs all your creatures. The analog of this card is the classic Raid Leader minion. A modern analog of the effect can be considered Field of Strife. But in real circumstances, your actual benefit will directly depend on the number of creatures with the buff that you manage to play. In cases where 10 creatures are buffed, your nominal value will be 5 mana. A very promising card. Void Scripture is potentially one of the craziest cards in the expansion. To get maximum value you should find an 8 mana spell on turn 10. The probability of this is less than 1%. But the probability that you will find a spell for 3 mana on turn 5 is more than 50%. In the vast majority of cases, you will be able to find a spell with a low cost. Very interesting design.
Contaminated Lasher is somewhat similar to Conjure Mana Biscuit, but has a more interesting design that creates limitations. In any case, you can play this creature actually for free, and also return 2 mana crystals, of course, unless you meet fairly simple conditions. In my opinion, this card has a lot of advantages.
Conductivity is similar to Zentimo and has huge combo potential. On turn 10, in a combination of only 3 cards, you can be guaranteed to get 3 Ragnaroses. But even if you transform only 2 creatures, your minimum value will be 28 mana crystals. The main disadvantage is that the card may remain in the hand for too long, waiting in the wings.
It was quite difficult for us to determine the nominal value of the battle-worn Faceless effect. Essentially, the card can copy a creature if a condition is met. We estimate the nominal value of this effect to be 3 mana. But in real circumstances, your benefit will depend on the creature you copy. This card opens up a huge amount of playability, especially in the presence of Titans or in combination with Grommash Hellscream.
Now let's very quickly look at a few of the cards that were revealed last.
Soulburner Varia deserves closer attention. The card is very similar to ETC, but in addition to causing damage to the opponent, it generates shadow spells for each of your dead undead. In these calculations, we assume that you will sacrifice 3 undead and benefit from 15 nominal mana crystals. But even if you manage to activate the effect just once, you will receive a minimum benefit of 7 mana, which is also not bad. Do not forget that the card can bring you significantly more benefits in some scenarios. Undead Priest is one of the best decks. This card will make him much stronger.
Before we talk about the craziest card, we should look at a tool that is part of an important mechanic in this mini set.
Chaotic Tendril is a randomness generator. An important feature of the card is its indefinite value, which gradually increases with each subsequent play. You need to cast at least 4 copies for the overall utility ratio to be greater than 3, which is standard for a 1 mana card. With each subsequent cast, you can get more and more benefits. There will always be a chance of failure, but more often than not you will receive benefits rather than negative consequences.
Now let's take a very quick look at the cards that generate chaotic tendrils.
As you can see, most of the cards that generate Chaotic Tendril are well balanced, and perhaps even too weak for the modern competitive environment, but each use of Chaotic Tendril has the chance to bring more and more benefits, and it can potentially be a very fun strategy to play.
It's time to talk about the king of this mini-set. Yogg-Saron Unleashed is a new titan that has a high utility ratio. Firstly, the card becomes cheaper for every spell you cast, which means this old god can potentially become completely free. In this case, you will receive additional value in the form of a coin. In addition, he has interesting abilities that can be represented in the form of mind control, mass hysteria and the Sunwell, which symbolizes filling your hand with chaotic tendrils. The probability that you will be able to activate all abilities is less than 5%. In the vast majority of cases, you will only be able to use one ability. Despite this, the card is capable of bringing you a lot of benefit and madness. Overall, this is an ideal tool for Demon Hunter, Mage and Priest spell strategies.
Let's summarize. Most new cards received approximately 2 utility ratio points.
This makes them well balanced, but this does not mean that they will become useful, since some tools have noticeably more value compared to other cards. The disadvantages of the mini-set concept remain the same. Most of the strong cards were created for strategies that are already dominant. Regardless, the new Yogg-Saron, Cho'Gall's anomalies, and Chaotic Tendrils synergies could potentially have the biggest impact on the metagame compared to other mini-sets.
This is another mini set that I really like from a design standpoint. I will be very sad if once again most of the cards turn out to be useless.
We can't wait to hear your opinion. Which legendary card do you think has the most value?
Help us determine this by taking part in the surveys on our community tab, and also share your thoughts in the comments.
Finally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors. Dear friends, your support is invaluable. Many thanks to each of you.
We also want to welcome new subscribers to our Mathematician Squad. We only see nicknames of public users who have not hidden the subscription section on their channel, but we are grateful to everyone for joining.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.